Welcome back to Viewertown. I'm your host, Mightygerm, along with my co-host, Gorilla, and our special guest today is Olivia Crowley, a full-time content creator, Twitch and YouTube partner, a retro and indie streamer, and an ASMR and voice actress. How are you doing, Olivia?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you so much for asking. How are you doing today?
Well, that that intro was a mouthful.
Not gonna say hi to me?
I said our co-host, Gorilla. Come on now.
Yeah, but you didn't ask me how I was doing.
Okay, Mr. Gorilla, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Good, good. All right. Now that they're all on the same page. Today we're going to look at, the wider world of content creation going beyond just like streaming and how that, you know, ties into VTubing as a career, right? And there's a lot of different things we're going to get into here, but we brought Olivia on today because she has a ton of firsthand experience on moving from VTubing as a hobby to doing it full time, and also just exploring all of these kind of side hustles you can do while you're streaming. So Olivia, let's just get started. Like, how did you get started streaming? Right, let's start from there.
Well, as far as I go, I have a long history. I didn't really stream for a long time, but I've always been, consumed a lot of streams. I watched a lot of Twitch back in the day. I watched a lot of speedrunners. I watched like the GDQs, all the esports, and then VTubers happened. All I have into Sanji watched a lot of those. And one day, I just woke up and I said, I kind of want to do this. I kind of want to get into this. I always wanted to, but I was always told like, oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. It's not never going to happen. But with VTubing and going on my own, like in my life, that was a great opportunity to try something new and see if I could, do this sort of thing. And here I am.
Yeah, you'll get a lot of like kind of similar origin stories for you if you'll say that about VTubers, and some of it, some of them kind of crash and burn, some of them, just kind of continue coasting along, doing it, when they have their free time. But I'm wondering where along that, where did you flip the switch from, I like doing this is fun, to, hey, I can like, maybe I'll do this full time.
For me, it goes back quite a ways because this streaming and creative endeavors as a whole were something that I personally always wanted to do. I didn't really have the opportunity for a lot of reasons, but a lot of it was be like when I was younger, because I'm much older now. People would always say, "No, you can't do that. You can't do that. You gotta go to college. You gotta get a degree. You gotta go to STEM field. You can't be a creator. That's never gonna succeed. You can't do it." But I want to give it a shot and see if maybe this was the thing that fit me. So I got everything going in about. I started my journey about August in 2020, then set up all my socials in like October, November, started tweeting, getting things put together, getting the model stuff to all that together, and just went live in March 2021. And I was so satisfied doing it. I was incredibly sad. It was one of those things like you do it and it's like it clicks in your brain. It massages your brain the right way. And after a few months, I'm like, at first start off as like, I just want to be a VTuber. I just want to stream. I want to do VTuber things. I want to do like what Ninja Sanji and Hololive do and like the V Shoujo girls. And after a few months, it's like, no, I kind of want to do it more. I want to make this my own thing and do my sort of stuff just as a VTuber. And so about 3 or 4 months in, it kind of flipped that switch from a hobby to making a business or career out of it.
I honestly feel like, yeah, you mentioned a couple things, but like so many people look at like the Hololives and Ninja Sanjis and Vsojos and so on and try to like copy their pathway. Well, I feel like that's something only a very few people have the opportunity to do.
Yeah. Also, you said that you started as another character, right? Like the character you are now isn't what you started with.
That is correct. My original character is Olivia Crowley. I'm actually going by Sasha the Archdemon now. I haven't changed my socials because there's a couple personal reasons I haven't, as well as a bit of a process because, diving all into it at once and you're ripping the band-aid off with viewers and such, people lose you. So kind of a slow build up as they replace the brand, but eventually it'll be all switched over. But for now, everything's still under Olivia Crowley. But I'm no longer switch characters. I had the model switch start happening, like making the assets in about September last year and swapped over entirely in December. And I've dropped the old model entirely since, just replacing like emotes and things at this point, little small things.
Yeah, rebranding seems risky though. Like overall,
Yeah.
there's
It is.
Yeah, how do people take that?
It's, I think if you, I think if you do it all at once, you surprise people with the change, they're not happy. They're gonna be very unreceptive. Um, and there's a certain, uh, almost kind of like a soul that goes in the character, that is kind of lost in the transition, especially if you just flip it all at once. I think there's a lot, especially with if you like build up lore and build up a interest in your character beyond just you as creator, but people invest in the character. To kind of throw that all out in one go can put a lot of people off. So I think it's definitely a very careful thing to do. And if you involve your community, tell them what you're doing, tell them honestly why you're doing it, they'll typically support you. They might not always like it entirely, but if you include them in your process and your thought process, they'll be more receptive to it. Otherwise, I think it's very risky. I know I have a few viewers still that are around that are sad the old model's gone. They do want to see it still, but for the most part, they're happier that I'm happy. But every single step of the way, I told everyone in my community, here's what I'm doing. Here's the new design. I'm moving to this over time. That's why I'm doing it. I'm a lot happier this way. And they're happier that their creator's happy ultimately.
Yeah, it's something that you have to really ease in because there's a lot of people who do rebrands and it just kind of happens suddenly
yeah.
and people get really confused and
You wake up one morning and oh, she's a different character entirely. It's a little jarring, you know?
yeah,
I
sometimes it's okay, but most of the times it doesn't work out.
Yeah, and plus it's like like the motivation is a big part of it. Some people do it because they feel like their character isn't, marketable enough or, something like that. Instead of it doing it for personal reasons where they feel, that the character doesn't represent them or they don't like, acting the character, so to speak.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But you also mentioned something earlier that hit on you remember like you were mentioning about going to college and things like that, and I swear like one thing that scares me to death, right? We have a lot of people in our VTuber space that are into like like their early 20s, college age. Some of them aren't going to school, some of them had dropped out of school to VTube, right? And even if they're successful, like what are they going to do, right? What are they going to do 10 years down the line, when they're done VTubing, they don't have any like, marketable skills. Like what kind of job they're going to get?
The answer to that is if all they do is stream, they won't get a job. It's honestly simple. This is something I've thought a lot about, and I thought a lot about it going into it when I started. As I mentioned earlier, I used to watch a lot of Twitch. I watched a lot of esports. I watched a lot of Dota 2 and things like that. I grew up playing like Counter Strike on a like smaller, little competitive level. So I've watched a lot of that stuff, and it's a very similar field in that when these players are, done being esports players, where do they go? They basically got a couple options. One is if they they can transition to like a caster in their game if they're good at speaking. If not, I hope you did something else. Hope you kept your money so you can go into education. Hope you learn some other skill because the skills they use for video games in that regard, yeah, you might have built some soft skills for working with others, but you haven't built any serious foundations to carry into a career for the rest of your life. So I think it's very important, especially if you're at that age, if you're a younger, creator or streamer, is do things, learn things that are transferable. Learn uh, something like hold on a second.
So
You can cut that. Obviously, you can edit this out, but
Wait.
no. Uh, oh man, Pure Blood's gonna have a heart attack.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, the problem is, a lot of people can't put, professional Fortnite, streamer for 10 years on their resume and have, HR give a second look at them. So much of that stuff is like, getting your foot into the door. When you're talking about your regular job, right? And that kind of stuff is just not going to pass muster. And
No.
that's assuming you're applying to jobs that you could theoretically do, right? Like there's plenty of people out there that wouldn't have this, the necessary skills to, be a, like a radio host or something, like vaguely equivalent to what they were doing before. And it like yeah, it concerns me on that level. It concerns me on just like it's hard to make a living right now, for a variety of reasons, right?
Well, at least with this field, if you're doing more than streaming, there are a lot of opportunities to learn transferable skills. If you don't, you're gonna be flipping burgers. But if you do, there's things like graphic design. If you're going into YouTube, making thumbnails or making graphics for your streams, graphic design is a giant field. That is a field that can easily turn into a six-figure job. And if you learn those skills, go to Skillshare. I'm actually gonna. Oh, the
Oh no,
Skillshare
are
thing
you
is not a
sponsored?
meme. I'm
Oh,
not
oh
sponsored.
wow! I didn't
I'm
know we
not
got ad
sponsored.
reads.
I'm not sponsored, but I grabbed the Skillshare thing because I was recommended to by somebody else. I'm like, isn't this a meme? Like, no, it's actually got good stuff on it. Guess what? It had good stuff on it. You can go to a site like that or like Udemy or something and learn these skills, build portfolios. You can do that
Masterclass
with
is really good too.
yeah, you can do that with stuff like coding and programming, all sorts of tech skills, graphic design, art, modeling. There's all sorts of things you can do. Singing. I mean, there's so many skills you can learn while streaming. If you do more than just turn the stream on and stream and turn it off, like do more than that, what you'll want to do anyway to grow yourself, you can build serious skills for the long term and a portfolio of doing so. If you do this for 5 years and you developed all your graphic design skills, look back on the things you did over 5 years. You have a portfolio taken to a career. You have something you could show into an employer or to sell yourself like on a freelance kind of sort of thing.
Right. Although I'll play devil's advocate for that a little bit because there's a fair amount of VTubers that do commissions on the side or do VA work on the side as well, and that is also the sort of thing where I think it's hard unless you're like very, very talented, right? It's hard to make that like a full career, just by saying, "Hey, I have some commissions. I'm doing some drawing, doing some sort of like artist alley sort of thing," right? You really have to work on doing like graphic design, right, and not drawing people's figures for $40 a pop, right? I think there's like a big gulf between these two things. Or if
Oh,
you're
there
doing
absolutely
voice
is.
work, yeah, if you're doing voice work, there's a big gulf between like doing professional voice work where you're getting trained, you're doing auditions and stuff like that versus, just doing commissions on the side.
Yeah, it's a start though, and having a start
Yeah.
can
But people
make
have
your
to,
life.
yeah, they have
But
to
you
make
gotta
the
start
effort.
somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. If you
You
start there, you have to make the effort to become a professional, right?
Yes, but you can take the initial skills and take it to like entry level professional stuff. For example, with voice acting, there are a lot of like small indie game gigs that you can attach yourself to. So yeah, you might be doing just voice commissions and small things like that. That's still a sample set you can take to somebody who's making an indie game. Do a few indie games, do a few small things. Maybe work into a big position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You still have
Kind
a
of.
portfolio.
You'd be really surprised at how many people have like projects out there and they have a lot of connections.
Yeah, when I was talking to Phoebe back at Offguy, she was doing voice work for a game, right? A character in a game. Also know a couple other VTubers who that was kind of their, like breakthrough, right? You have some of these indie games, some of these phone games, they have voice characters. It's not like you're trying to get in some like AAA, scenario. And, that's a good way to kind of step into that professional like voice acting space.
Yeah, if you don't uh even if you don't get somewhere fast, you can still make a lot of connections along the way, and that's really important.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's something I don't know. It's hard. Like they don't really teach in the school, right? Or it's not
Yeah.
what you know, is like who you know.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of VTubers take this the wrong way. Like, I mean, we could definitely go on a massive tangent about like VTuber social circles, right? But I think they're kind of different than like kind of professional. your like LinkedIn social circle. It's kind of like a different like vibe entirely, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's like an important thing to think about too, because early on you were talking about how you started this as a hobby. A lot of people are still, they're just still hobbyists, and in a field where it's all mixed together, it's really hard to tell how to treat other people in like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's a good point, right? Because like in my day job, like I know it's like a professional job, right? So you have a that's kind of like when you're talking to someone in a professional manner, you can email them, you can you can like request a project or an invoice from them or whatnot, right? But when you're talking with a VTuber who's like hitting you up on Twitter, right? You don't really know if you can you can rely on them or attach to them in like in a certain sort of way, right? They could just be someone doing it in their free time, or they could be someone who's taking their more professional and wants to go far, but it's hard to know, right? When you're in the middle of it.
Not until you give them some time to talk and get to know them, which, depending on your own time and what you're trying to do, might be a waste of your time. And that sounds so wrong, but like you never know in this field. When I started, I was trying to manage Twitter. I didn't really understand how lists work. So I made a bunch of connections. I took everyone I was interested, like I like their content, like their vibe. I
Mhm.
threw them into a bookmark folder on my browser. And every day, when I was spending way more time on Twitter than I should have, I would open every single tab all at once. I get rate limited. I have 300
Holy
tabs
fuck!
open.
Wait, three?
I bookmarked 300 people that I was really interested in. After a few months, 100 were gone. Of that original list, if I open it now, there's probably less than 100 of those left at this point. Like there's probably 50 or 60 of those 300. People fall off all the time for various reasons of life, realizing it's not for them. Anything can happen. Um,
Yeah, it's like
it's
you're.
hard.
Yeah, and you can't really like fault them either, especially if it's like life stuff. Like I've known a lot of people who had a lot of potential, but life just got in the way and they couldn't really, keep going. And I can't fault them for that. You
Yeah,
take care of like what's important.
but yeah, but that kind of fucks you up too. Like when you're trying to networking is all about building that long term connection, right? And
Yeah,
you only have so much kind of like mental space and time, right? And if you're thinking about like 75% of the people you try to connect with, they're either going to drop off the face of the earth or they're just not going to go anywhere that would assist you in the future, right? And that's kind of taking like kind of the cynical sort of look at it, right?
yeah,
um like plenty of people make friends for friendship reasons, but also it's like a little bit of both. That's why it's so weird, right?
yeah.
Like
And the culture doesn't really lend itself to that way because I
it's very
imagine,
hostile. Yeah.
yeah, I imagine a high percentage of people are, hobbyists.
Right.
So they've probably never really even thought of like taking things as a business.
Hmm. Like, like let's say like you're like a normal job, a desk job, right? And you end up working with somebody from another department, right? And you guys work well together. You respect each other's skills, right? That's someone you might not have worked with or known before, right? And then you guys go your separate ways, but it's like, hey, next time I need someone, to write a TPS report, I'm gonna call Bob, right? So that's kind of how it works in that field. But in this field, it's very likely that Bob will no longer exist, right? Or Bob,
Yeah,
it's just doing TPS reports out of his garage, and you can't really rely on him, right, for that. Even though you guys might have worked, pretty well in that moment. So, it's kind of just a different paradigm. And like what really like feeds into this is like it's just like sort of this feast and famine thing, right? I feel like a decent reason, like besides Minhera, why people quit this hobby is because it's just not they're not getting enough out of it for the time commitment.
yeah.
You know,
It's a lot of time.
It's a lot of time. It's a lot of work. It is far more work than most people realize to turn it from a hobby into a business.
Yeah,
yeah, and
And
yeah, you know what? Like really opened my eyes is I don't know, was it like a year ago? It was quite some time ago where they had that big Twitch hack, that it leaked all the payments that people were getting, and you really saw that like even fairly large, like VTubers or streamers at that point were making basically minimum wage, right? unless you were in like the multi-thousand, tens of thousands of like CCV, you're making like minimum wage. You're making not very much, like certainly barely a living wage, right?
I will say, I think the Twitch leak is very misrepresentative of that because a lot of people looked at it in a vacuum. They said, oh, they're a Twitch streamer. Must be all they do. Nothing but Twitch. Wow, they're really making nothing. But they missed that a lot of these creators make money elsewhere in many, many ways, and an
Well,
infinite amount
smart
of
ones.
ways. The
Yeah.
smart ones, yes. They have, as everyone always says, if you're in stocks, right, diversify your portfolio. That applies to anything you're doing in life. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Many of these creators don't put all their eggs in one basket. I had someone the other day. They came on my stream. They saw I got full-time creator recently. They said to me, "How many subs do you have on Twitch?" Like 150-ish. Well, how'd you afford to go full time? Isn't that scary? Let me tell you, most of my income doesn't come from Twitch, so it's less than 25% of what I make directly off Twitch payout, basically.
Yeah. There's multiple, VTubers I've talked to where, like Twitch is not even their primary source of income, despite them streaming for, several hours a day, spending a lot of time on Twitch. It is not their, it's not even, like maybe it's like a third of their income at most, which is kind of, it's kind of weird on a time versus effort, but it's also all kind of connected, right? Even if Twitch isn't making you the most money, it's also a big way to get more people into your like ecosystem, right? Your brand.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's the catalyst for everything.
It's a funnel.
Oh. Yeah, because a lot of people now, they just do stuff on Twitch and then they turn it into something on YouTube.
Right. If you're like already drawing for a commission or you're already doing something else, it can be it can
Yeah,
be
you turn, if you're drawing, you turn on the stream, and then now there's like hundreds of people watching you draw, and that's just extra money that's coming in. Or if you're like like a fighting game guy, you just make the video, you just stream your matches and then you put it on YouTube.
Yeah,
And
he's like, I'm gonna be on the lab.
people are gonna want to watch you anyways.
Now, does that only work when you already have an audience?
Um,
I'm gonna say you don't need the audience to pre-exist in some way, because a lot of those audiences on their own don't necessarily convert. Like in some cases, they just may say they don't. Someone with like 100,000 followers on Twitter for their art might see, say, less than 1% of those that come over stream. Maybe 20 or 30 are interested enough. But it's another place to have your work visible. It's just another outlet for people to experience you in some way.
yeah.
And one thing I believe in now, because I started out want to be a streamer, and I realized since then I don't think streaming should be the goal. I don't think living off of streaming should be the goal. I think it should be a modifier to something else you do. If you're an artist and you like to have people around or just want to share your work, there's no reason not to do it as long as peace can handle it. You might as well do it. It's another place to show your art off at. Just more opportunities for eyeballs on you. It's like taking your art and posting it across 10 different sites. Why only post your art on Twitter when you can post it on Twitter, Instagram, DeviantArt, Newgrounds, show it on Twitch, all these
Newgrounds.
sites? Yeah,
Hey,
you use
Newgrounds is
Newgrounds. Just
coming.
use
We
it. Just
talked
use
about
it.
this. Newgrounds is coming back, dude.
Just
What
use
the
it. It's a place. It's a place. If you make not safe for work art, there's plenty of places for you to post it. You will find it.
Rest in
Post
peace,
on
Tumblr.
post on
I mean, Tumblr is still
every
alive. But
every site you can sink your teeth into. Post your content, whether it's art or music or some video you made or a guide. Post it wherever it's relevant. And Twitch is another um, addition to that. It should be a modifier to a thing you do, not the goal. And if you benefit from it, it's just a nice bonus.
So what's your hustle of choice, Olivia? Why don't you tell the Viewertown audience, how do you make a living off this?
Oh, so I did go full time recently. Right now, for a rough revenue breakdown, I'm happy sharing this number. I tell my audience I'm 100% transparent with this. I see no reason to hide it. I think, transparency is best policy with your viewers and everything in general. Twitch is about 25% of my income. When I say Twitch, I mean the website paying me directly from bits and subs and things like that.
Hmm.
Streamloots, thanks to Leaflet, is about 50% of that. Streamloots is, of course, a thing tied to streaming. I have to stream for that. If I don't stream, nobody's going to use the system, obviously. So it's still streaming related income. And the rest of it is a mixture of, say, direct tips, which again, people tip me because they stream, uh, Patreon, and YouTube ad revenue.
So how much are you like double and like triple dipping and stuff stuff like that? Because like I assume like some of your stream stuff goes on YouTube as well, right? And your Streamloots is your Streamloots is all stream based stuff, is it?
Yes, Streamlabs is completely locked to the streaming ecosystem. If I'm not live, there is no benefit to the viewer or to me in any way. It exists solely in the stream content or in-stream content for live formats. As for double dipping, I actually don't do that very much. It's something I'm very bad at. I know I should try to take my VODs and turn them into other content elsewhere on YouTube. It's a lot harder. It's a lot easier to say to do it than actually do in practice. Uh, there's a very big streamer. Everyone obviously, I say Ludwig. Everyone's gonna know who that is. Ludwig makes a point all the time about trying to format into your streams a segment of some sort that can be cut out later on its own to a YouTube video. And that's great advice. It's a fantastic advice, incredible advice, but it's a lot easier to say you should do it than to actually do it. Uh, Clips, making TikToks and shorts and things like that, easy to say to do it. But when it comes down to taking a 4-hour block of footage and going back and finding these things and turning them into a video for YouTube, it can be very difficult. It can be very tedious, unless the
Yeah.
community's doing it for you. I think it's much better for me anyway. I don't do that very well. I felt my time was better spent making unique content on other platforms that weren't for my streams. So I don't particularly do that, which is a big failing on my part, I suppose.
Well, I think for those guys, it's much easier for them to basically stop their stream and then do a segment
Like
that
a
they
bit.
can, yeah, like a bit that they can easily just chunk out.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that because I was gonna say, like, to all your VTubers out there, that this doesn't mean put your VODs on YouTube and call it a day, right?
Yeah,
But so many people, like, I mean, let's face it, the vast majority of the VTubers out here are video game players, right? And if you're just playing a video game for 3 or 4 hours on stream, there's just not going to be a good clippable or a good segment that you
yeah.
could put on YouTube, right?
Especially if you talk to the chat a lot, because the thing about putting something on YouTube, most of the time you don't want to interrupt it with stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like if
Yep.
it like guys who make news, if they're doing like a thing on the stream itself, then that whole like 10 minutes they're not going to respond to chat, or they're not going to respond to donations or anything like that. Notifications usually off.
Yeah. The best examples. Yeah. Go ahead.
As a viewer, that's really bad because you don't want to tune in and you see like this guy's just talking to himself and he's not saying anything to the audience.
Well, you know what? That's like a really weird thing, right? Because I was thinking like the situation you see this a lot with your normal streamers and with VTubers a little bit is like the streamer takes a break from whatever they're doing to tell some story, right? So like this 15 to 20 minute, kind of humorous tale of something that happened to them, right? Where they're not really interacting with the chat necessarily, right? They're just retelling a funny story, which is great. That's great, YouTube content, clippable content, and so on and so forth. But you see this a lot in the really big streamers, and their chat just moves way too fast for them to even like even have a semblance of interacting with it, right?
Yeah, to even like respond to it really.
Right. So you get this, I guess you get this issue with VTubers particularly, especially like those kind of the mid to low viewer counts where they might feel obligated to, continually interact with chat, but that takes away, like if they're telling a story or something, that takes away from someone watching it later, kind of takes them out of the the immersion. My immersion is gone because you're talking to some chat that I can't really see or like interact with at all, right?
Oh, I agree entirely. It's definitely I mean, I myself as someone who talks, I talk to my chat all the time. That's one thing I pride myself on is I'm a high chat interactivity, especially on Twitch, where it's kind of expected. So yeah, those stories are often is interrupted by all sorts of random thoughts or reading chat things out loud or chat says something you get on a completely different story and you come back to your story 30 minutes later when you remember, oh yeah, I was telling a story. Whoops. That's definitely difficult. Uh regarding your comment on like gaming footage, the only good way to really handle that is if you are recording a second copy of it at the same time or like shadow playing it. So you have just the game itself on its own later if you want to talk over it and do like a review video or something. But it assumes your PC can handle something like that. Many people can't.
Yeah, if you're doing a specific, there's like the specific type of gaming content where you can, mute yourself on in post, right, and talk over it. Um, if you're
Twitch
doing some
makes
sort of like tutorial or something like that.
Yeah.
Twitch makes it a bit harder in the sense also unless you are recording a separate copy of the footage because your stream is going to have the overlay on, it's going to have chat on it. You might not get a clean copy of just the game footage. So you can upload a YouTube video that's covered in, I know the big
Yeah,
streamers do
it's
that,
gonna look really ugly.
but it's gonna look really ugly. If you're a big creator already, a big streamer, you can get away with it. Nobody cares. They know you're a 30,000 viewer streamer on Twitch. But if you're smaller, people are gonna be like, what the hell is this crap? Why is there a chat box here? Why do you have this donation thing down here? What's this weird overlay?
Yeah, why is there like so much going on the stream? And then you're probably talking over it, and it's like, uh, it's just a lot of overload.
Mhm.
It is.
I did want to go back to Streamloots for a second because I just thought about something. Now, like Streamloots, it's basically you can buy these cards, you can buy these packs, right? And the viewers can, and they play, sounds or do effects or whatever on your stream. Why is that so much more profitable compared to like a bits redeems or like normal points redeems or whatever? Like, what makes Streamloots so much huger?
There's a lot of factors that really go into it, I would say, especially depending on the creator themselves and how they present it. Um, First of all, Streamlabs has some great advantages with their platform cuts and like their coupons and how they pay out to creators. Uh, I find that with fans, they're very invested in creators. They like to make sure the creator gets the most possible out of their dollar, which I've found Streamlabs to be the best way to do that. Other things are like just there's far more customization I think that you can do with Streamlabs versus doing something like 100 bits gets you a thing, or like X amount of subs gets you a thing. They're so customizable, and I found people really like being part of the show, especially with the Twitch culture. Twitch culture already lends itself to chat being part of the show, and I think as a whole, not just Streamloots, giving your chat some degree of agency over your stream lends itself to a lot of investment in it. To
Viewers rise
know,
up.
yes, viewers rise up literally. I think that sort of, I mean, look at things like crowd control or like integration on dead cells, and viewers can mess with you. People love that. They can not just watch the stream but interact with it and direct it. And those who just want to lurk can still lurk, but a lot of people on Twitch are there for participate in the show and not just watching the show. Twitch culture really lends itself to that. Steelers in particular, I think, really takes that Twitch culture and moves it to the next level more so than anything with like a chat redeem could do or a bit redeem. And it's just I find it pretty easy and affordable to get into, and you can reward people for free with it. And there's so many factors that go into it.
Now, this is making me think of something like I'm trying to think about this from a certain way, right? So, as a viewer, right, are these viewers that are giving you money through these alternate things, not just like Streamlabs and stuff, but like your Patreon and things like that? Are you getting like the more money from a similar viewer count, or it's like are these people like paying you more than they would normally through bits and subs and so on and so forth? Or is it just do you think like having these other ways to support you is actually like expanding your user base, right? Like, are you getting more money from the same people? Are you getting, more buckets of money from like a wider audience, you think?
So, one thing I found very important is to give people as many options to support you as possible because every single person has different wants, desires, and needs. Some I have found some viewers that previously they didn't really tip directly or do much with bits that I release stream loots, and suddenly they're all over it. They love it. They think it's so fun, it's so interactive, they really enjoy it. Whereas before, they didn't really care. It wasn't didn't mean much to them. They're like, whatever. Here's my sub. You're good. Uh, I think I'm getting a broader pool of people that want to support me in different methods. Some people are still all about the Twitch integration of, yeah, I'm gonna throw some bits at you. Here's some bits. I'm gonna throw some gift subs at you. Here's some gift subs. Other people like just like different methods of an activity that Streamlabs provides, or they want to get something else out of it, like Patreon, have some rewards for viewers. They want to have the name on screen at the end of streams. They want to get some personalized rewards. The more options you give them that tap into different appeals, I think you'll reach a broader, like you'll have a better conversion of a viewer into a supporter.
It's interesting. Like, it's funny, like, I'm sure, there obviously there's all sorts of viewers, but it's like usually in my mind, I would have some sort of budget or something I would be comfortable, giving a streamer, right? And this could be, I kind of would like them to get a bigger cut of it. So if they have something like Streamlabs or Streamloots, I would, be more inclined to do that. But I don't think I've been enticed to like spend a lot of money, where I wouldn't otherwise.
Uh, I have actually.
Yeah.
I don't really like subscribing to people because I don't really chat or be active in the chat like that. But
Lurker
if
love.
it if they got merch, I'll spend $50 on that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, same,
Gorilla's
absolutely.
always giving me the line when new merch comes out. But I think merch
I
is a little bit different, right? It's like a
I
little bit
don't.
different. Like that's something physical you're getting instead of
Yeah, but like that's the thing with Streamloots. Streamloots is you're getting something on the stream.
Exactly. And
So even if it costs a little bit more, if it's able to create like something that's kind of unique to you because you did it by playing the card, it's a much better option.
oh yeah, uh, that's why I put it in place. Like, I mean, the cost in this case is a bit more on me because the cut, because if someone tips directly, say they go through Streamlabs or Stream Elements and directly throw $10 at me, I get like 97% of that. Streamlabs they get 90% unless they use a coupon. But I put it in place because people were tipping me anyway. And I'm like, well, I want to give you something for, what you give me. I'm very value driven. So I feel almost kind of guilty you just throw money at me. And even people are like, yeah, I just enjoy watching your stream. Don't worry about it. I'm like, no, I want something you can do on my stream with that or some way to reward you. And people really enjoy that. People like that they can change the flow of the stream. They can, make me play with one hand for a little bit or flip myself upside down on screen, all sorts of things. And they did that. Nobody else did that. They did that. They caused this hilarious thing to happen, and they really enjoy that. And they get to sort me, but get something cool out of it. And people are just really into that.
now. Do
I
you?
don't. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, Dan. Do you feel your viewer that has been saving up a ton of points, to get your redeems now feels like oh you've moved all the cool stuff to stream loots or some other thing, right? And the loyal Olivia viewer that's amassed 100,000 channel points now feels like it's like how do you balance your point redeems, like you can say like your loyalty redeems versus stuff that people pay for?
So what I started off with doing is that things that were channel point redeems already, I didn't initially touch. I added new things that were never part of the channel culture. Or like they were relevant to the channel in some way and funny or what have you, but they weren't originally a point redeem. I did new content. Uh, I also gave people the option to get those packs for free, or rather, they spend points in them. Instead of like, because some people on the channel literally had 100,000, they got their VIP, and it's all they did. They didn't do redeems or anything. And now they can card packs for free. A couple things I changed also, like I have a redeem that people love. My most used redeem was called Put Shoe on Head, reference to a really old meme with cam girls and putting shoes in the head. Don't worry about it. But it lets people put an item on me for the rest of the stream. At the time, it's 1,000 points. Well, that was great when I was smaller, but as they got bigger, I would have people come in and redeem 15 at once, or 30 people redeem all at once. And suddenly I'm spending minutes and minutes and minutes putting things on me instead of doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So I moved that over to a card, and then I left on stream, but limited it to one per person per stream. So if you still really want to cover me in garbage, you can get that through the cards. If not, you can do it once per stream. Kind of balance it. And I really didn't have any complaints. I can't actually think of a single person that complained when I changed things. I really didn't take much away to move into cards. I moved very little into cards. Only really that I can think of moved to cards. Everything else stayed as it was. I just gave more options.
Honestly, if your free point redeem stuff is on par with things you have to pay for, you're hustling wrong. First off,
I'm torn because as a viewer, I would hate, to feel like I'm getting a set class experience from only using channel points. But on the other side, you got to make that paper.
well, it's freemium. It's like
It's like the gotcha game.
yeah,
No, it's like buying car. It really is.
I mean, it is literally buying cards. Well, not literally. It's
It's like the
but
RNG too.
I don't know. I don't think channel point stuff should ever be like super disruptive. But you can make the paid stuff super disruptive, and that's the magic of it.
But
I think that's a great point.
I think of the other way. It's like channel points are hard to get. Like a lot, like large. If you have like in the tens of thousands range, channel points are hard to get because you can't get them very fast unless someone is running a lot of predictions and polls and stuff like that. So
You are using better TTV, right? And lurking all their streams forever, aren't you? So you collect the points automatically.
Yeah,
You should be
I-
using BTTV for the auto collection. I even tell my viewers that. I literally say, if you want more card packs, go get BTTV, and it'll automatically, you get points every 15 minutes. You can click the little button for more.
hold on, I'm about to get some card packs.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now we're hustling.
It's like, go get BTTV, get more points. And also, if you subscribe to me, you get more points also. You get a multiplier.
So
yeah, subscribe to the tier 3. You get that 1.5 multiplier.
That was double.
Oh, it's double? Damn.
It's funny when you start thinking about it that way. It like seems really manipulative, like from the Twitch, point of view, just like some sort of gotcha game or something.
Well, I mean, they do it. They set it up that way.
Yeah, they do it on purpose. We need to have more. People need to do more like predictions and stuff where we can gamble the points and bet the points because that's the real way to become a channel point oil baron.
Yeah, I have. I wonder if anybody else has more points than me in one of the channels I
Your
lurk a lot.
Your Ushi's channel.
500K.
You have 500K. Jesus. Now that's dedication. This is the type of viewer you want. An airplane gorilla. Just hoarding
maybe
all.
not. Maybe not because I don't chat or do anything.
It's like the ultimate lurker. So I mean, we're thinking about like a lot of stream adjacent, like revenue options, right? And we talked a little bit about merch, but I wonder how something like Patreon, right, fits into this because like things you put on Patreon should be like exclusive to something, right? So it can't be something you've cribbed off, your stream or your YouTube, right? But it's also like some like periodic value. People are paying like $5, $10, $15 a month for this. Like, how do you fit a Patreon into your overall like strategy?
I think it depends on what you're doing. For example, I have an ASMR YouTube now. I had a Patreon for a long time, as well as Ko-fi. And before I did the YouTube channel, I never used the Patreon. I used the Ko-fi primarily. And I had tiers set up like for $10, I put you on the thank you screen. For $25, you get a personalized voice recording every month, stuff like that. Took a couple ideas from like other people that mostly just streamed. And some people would throw in as an alternative, like they didn't want the channel, just wanted to be $5 a month as like replace their channel sub. They didn't care about the channel sub. Didn't matter to them. This I could maybe a bit more. Other people wanted the voice redeems. Other people just really liked me, want to support me. Um, Nowadays with the ASMR YouTube channel, I can offer more with like the voice redeems. I can offer uh, early releases. I can offer things that are like special alternative versions of what would go onto YouTube that can't go onto YouTube if you're picking up what I'm putting down. Uh,
Yep.
so there's a lot of options there. The more variety of content you make, if all you do is stream, it might be effectively just like a tip jar, which is okay. Uh, but if you do other things on other platforms, like with YouTube, or you're an artist, there's more you can offer there. If you're an artist, oh, here I did a time lapse of this picture, and I talk about my techniques while I do it, stuff like that. Or like artist higher tier of, hey, if you're in this tier, you can have access to these priority commission slots, stuff like that. For just streamers, if all you stream, it's a lot more limited. It's a lot harder to use. It relies on just people wanting to chip in for goodwill reasons, which people will do. People will do. I have people that are my highest tier that don't want the voice redeems. They just want to be on there because they like me and like what I do. That's more
Yeah.
common than you think.
Or you got to do some like really, I don't want to say shady, but like hangouts and stuff like that. You got to do that kind of
Oh, the
thing
private
where
chats and the private. I
yeah,
mean, no,
anyway,
I know
because
some very legitimate VTubers that do that.
yeah. That's why I didn't want to say shady, but it's so you got to offer more of yourself if you're not doing something else.
Yes. You have to. I don't want to say lean into the parasocial more because I don't think you necessarily have to do that, but you do put yourself in a more precarious position. The more of yourself you offer to others, the closer you put yourself to that dangerous parasocial position or into like the GFE, BFE experience. You be very careful. Someone might take a private hangout the wrong way or might try to take it too far.
You know what? It just made me realize that a Patreon is basically like a YouTube membership, right? A YouTube membership is closer to that than it is to a Twitch sub.
Yes.
Because you'll have the tier 3 members only stream and the members only post. And man,
Yep.
Well, unfortunately, not anymore. Now that they're doing gifting, but
yeah,
I don't really know how that works. But I do like the exclusivity of
the members only streams.
the member stuff.
It was just weird because Twitch does have that capability on some level, but you almost never see it.
You shouldn't. You shouldn't. It's not culturally relevant to the Twitch platform because every platform has its
Yeah.
different culture on it. Twitch, is
Yeah, I've never seen sub only streams do well.
no, it's a waste of your time on Twitch. It's better idea on YouTube, but not for Twitch. Not for Twitch. It does not work culturally in any way. Just like if you have your VOD set to sub only on Twitch, all you do is shooting yourself in the foot. People don't care about VODs on Twitch anyway, begin with, but making them sub only, it's like no.
Oh yeah, that enrages
No.
me. Like if you have your,
I never understood that either, honestly.
it tilts the shit out of me because it's like 9,000. If someone, okay, listen, VTubers, people really don't watch VODs that much, right? They really don't. But if someone cares enough about you to actually watch,
top VOD watcher right here.
yeah, if someone cares enough about you to watch a VOD, you should let them watch it for free. Like, there's just no reason for that to be paywalled.
You should be posting on YouTube too. So why even paywall? Look, I'm gonna be real with you. If I find a new VTuber on Twitter, I'm like, oh, you look cool. I'm gonna check you out. You're not live? All right, let me go look at your VODs. And click on your channel. I see your VODs are private. I'm gonna never look at you again.
Yep,
I'm
out of
done with
there.
you. I'm done with you. I'm never looking at you. I'm sorry. You had your chance. I'm sorry. I don't care how shallow that sounds. That was it.
No, I've done the same thing. It's like I was interested in someone. Like, again, like so much of your interaction will come from someone like looking at a tweet or clip or something, right? They'll come to your channel. You're not streaming at the time, most likely, right? They're gonna try to see, oh, are there any VODs that look interesting? So I can just see what they're like.
Yeah,
Oh,
if you look, this could kind of tie into like another thing we talked about before, schedules. If I see something on your schedule that I thought was cool, I'd probably watch the VOD.
yep. And if it's paywalled, I am so like I'm disgusted. I'm literally disgusted if the VOD is paywalled.
I was a viewer first that went to being a VTuber. So I look at it from two ways. One, as a business professional at this point, literally, technically now I'm full time. I think it's it's not a smart business move because all your VOD should be posted publicly elsewhere anyway. Why aren't you taking those things to YouTube? You should take them off Twitch. So there's no reason to make it sub only. Also, Twitch doesn't default that behavior, so there's no excuse there either. Uh, Second, as a viewer, if I just want to check you out and you make it hard for me to do so, human nature with like onboarding a new consumer is if there's anything to make it difficult for them, every single step added makes it less likely for them to want to engage with you. If I have to jump through hoops to figure out who you are and what you do, and if I like you, I'll move on. I have better things to do at a time. That's
Yeah.
just viewer behavior. That's consumer behavior in any, not just for streamers, but for every part of business in life. People want the easiest. They just want to access your thing, see what you're about, see what your product's about, you being the product in this case. And if they want to consume you, it sounds so wrong.
Consume. Yeah, but it's like, yeah, I was just thinking path of least resistance, right? Especially when like in such a like a voluntary entertainment like arena as VTubing is, streaming is in general. Like if you make it difficult for someone to even like learn more about you, there are a
Yeah.
quadrillion other streamers
But
that
it,
could
like this
that
is
care
this
about.
is so prevalent in like everything. If I'm buying a game and they don't have like a trailer, the chances of me buying it's gonna like drop significantly.
I'm going to go nerd for a second here. Look at the debacle with like Final Fantasy 14 and 11's account creation services. How many possible players have they lost because onboarding a new player is a mess, right? That site is absolute hell to navigate. Same thing applies to really any business. Make it as easy an experience as possible for someone to get to you, find out what you're about. As soon as you present any difficulty, people are just going to leave.
Yep, take it to heart, tubas. You want to make it as easy as possible for people to know about you. And this is like, that applies to more than just that. Just having your like link tree or whatever, like, very visible on your Twitter, and all that stuff. So it makes, if I want to learn more about you, I know instantly all your links to all your content.
Yeah. If I have to go through a bunch of hoops, no.
No.
Honestly, I think it's even more important for VTubers more than it's like a regular face cam streamer because people will see your design, they'll see your character, and want to know more, not just about you, the creator, but about your character. So people, I think in this case, I obviously this is I don't have hard data for this, but if I see personally a cool design, I want to know more. You know, I might want to know like, what kind of background does your character have? What kind of lore do you have? What is your character about beyond just you, the person like playing, Minecraft and Apex Legends? What's your character about? So I think it's very important to have that it's all out there and accessible and put together for anyone to like get at immediately.
Huh. I'm trying to think. Yeah. And this is just not like a theoretical thing. Like, we've said, I've definitely been turned off of people who made it difficult. Oh man, what did we miss? There was one other thing I really wanted to talk about was the this is probably something that could be an entire episode on its own, but I think like the financial decisions made by VTubers are often leave something to be desired. I know quite a few who are like addicted to scabs or you know
I
yeah you know have their own issues, but you know a lot of that is having disposable income, right? But if you're doing this as a hobby, I can't imagine you have a ton of money to throw around. So when you're planning on like doing VTubing as a career, like a bunch of that is like, like budgeting like for your life, right? And you don't have the safety nets of always going back to a 9 to 5 and like especially if you're in the US having insurance and all that stuff. So how do you handle that now? Uh-oh. that,
it's
that sounds like we're praying.
so for me, I always kept good track of my money. I'm very frugal for starters. I agree entirely with what you say about VTubers uh, making poor financial decisions in various ways. Get maybe you shouldn't have gone that extra scab, but also like you said, it depends. Business versus casual. Maybe you have everyone has a different background. Maybe you have some VTuber that's like in the tech industry. Make a lot of money. They're just doing it as a hobby. They don't care. They have disposable income. Just throw it at things. You know, that's very common. A lot of supporters are that way. They just tech bros and tech girls that have disposable income. Same thing, just one person might be a streamer. So whenever I see that like scab issue or the misappropriation uh, of like funds, in my opinion, like from business perspective, you never know what their background is. You never know if like maybe they're, you know, living paycheck to paycheck, or if they just have a lot of money sitting around. It's anything that happen. Maybe they have a big supporter. From a business perspective, I think people should be a lot more careful about what they spend on. I don't think, scabbing, especially with scabs particular, the habit to scab something and move on to the next scab, and it's just kind of forgotten. It's out there, it exists, and then new shiny thing. I think a lot of YouTubers be prioritizing like tech upgrades. I'm pretty like the model, upgrade meme. You don't need like a designer 5,000. You don't need an Iron Vertex model or 5,000 model. You can do a lot with a budget. But just having like your tech down first. Make sure all your tech stuff squared away. Have a nice microphone. I'll get stuff like that. Beyond that though, beyond the initial like startup like expenditure stuff, uh, I think as soon as questions about like kind of going full time reasons, managing that, like that sort of thing.
Did you have a certified financial planner do your taxes and stuff? Like honestly, it's funny because like for like unrelated things, I was also looking into that you know the other day where like if you're doing something as a business, obviously your tax situation changes a lot too.
And yes, and most viewers, or sorry, most casual VTubers don't realize that. Most casual streamers don't realize that. Uh, this year is going to be a big wake up call because they changed laws on PayPal recently too. Uh,
What
I
they
didn't.
change?
Oh, so prior to this year, they announced this. A ton of announcements last year. As of this year, so PayPal was what I like to call a tax haven before. PayPal had a loophole in it. PayPal previously, every year prior, would not report your income to the IRS unless you made, and this is going to be an and, not an or, $20,000 and 200 qualified sales. And a sale in this case is like a non gift transaction.
Hmm.
That's a lot. That's a lot of money.
Yes.
It's an consider that businesses, some people have to report at 400 for self-employment income. That's a lot of money. So there are many people out there who never did their taxes anyway because they never had to. PayPal never reported it. They weren't making this threshold, or they would make a fee off of PayPal, then make money elsewhere through other means and report that, but not PayPal. So they had very little responsibility. 2022 changed that. 2022 and forward, PayPal now operates the same as any 1099 form, like a contractor, in that at $600 or more, this is the same as Twitch does, mind you, and Patreon and all those sites. You make $600 more, and this is for Americans only, obviously. I'm US based. They will be telling the IRS, hey, here's a tax form. By the way, this person made $10,000 to PayPal, and now you got to pay on it. This is an insanely common loophole for many artists and musicians, any sort of creator over the past since PayPal existed, basically. And that's gone. It's completely gone. But as for your question about having a CPA, no, I used to do taxes for as professional. I did taxes for people that had small businesses. I know, keeping a tally of myself in a basic level. I don't know how to do like corporate tax, but I know how to track my income and plan my finance and stuff. I'm older, I'm in my 30s, so
You're a
I've,
grown
I've
up.
I'm an adult. I've had a chance to figure this out. So that experience helped a lot. So I will need a CPA or an accountant someday, but right now, with what I'm doing at this kind of basic level still, even full time, it's not like an advanced business. I don't have employees. I'm not doing crazy things. Uh, Keeping track of my expenses as I make them and my income as I make it per month, and then paying that out to the IRS is all I really need. It's not super hard. Just watch your bank account. Write down what you take out and what you put in can go a long way that most people don't do.
Again, yeah, we have experience with that, being in our, a little bit older, but it's quite possible these people, just haven't had to ever do taxes, right? If you're
Yeah,
if you're younger,
this could be their first time ever doing taxes. This could be their first job effectively. Maybe the first time they made income.
that's got to be rough because
Yeah.
yeah, when you have a job, it's just like W-2, enter the box A into box Q and be done with it. But if you're doing it all on your own, you're gonna have to keep
Yes, it's
track of
scary.
all of your expenses and all that other stuff. So Hey, Viewertown Financial Services,
Oh
the
lordy.
new startup, new startup idea.
Viewertown and Sons Consulting.
Viewertown.
I mean, for most people, you don't gotta go wild. Make a spreadsheet on Google Docs, break it into 12 months, make a column for income, make column for expenses, and a description column for expense. And that is like 99% of the way. And then just save receipts and note down this came out of PayPal or whatever. And put that in your taxes. Take your deductions and stuff like that. Keeping track of it's the first step. And it's not a difficult step to do.
I don't know. I mean, have you seen some of these people with their math? I don't know if I would trust them with a spreadsheet.
I mean, theoretically it's not
Mm,
it's not, it's not rocket surgery, right?
yeah. But like, given all that, no, not only that you're doing this for a living, you're gonna have to track all your expenses. You gotta, have to worry about, putting food on the table. Like, how much stress does that put on the like normal person? Because I come from like a card game background, a poker background, where there's just like a big difference between someone doing it as a hobby and then someone playing, poker like 8 hours a day, grinding, day and night on a bunch of tables, to make a living, right? Like mentally, it's very stressful. Do you ever feel that? Like, have you ever streamed and it's like, "Ah, I don't feel like streaming today, but if I don't, I'm not eating or I'm not, paying rent or whatever."
That is why I took so long to go full time as I did, is I built up alternate revenue streams and put things in motion that even if I had to take a day off or got sick, and that is a very real and scary reality with streamers. We're like, oh, I gotta do a donathon this month or I'm not gonna eat. That's a thing. I when the way I grew up, like the idea of not being able to put food on the table, have a roof over my head, or things like that, the idea of not knowing the next week's paycheck strikes the fucking fear of God into me.
Oh yeah.
So I put all my ducks in a row before I did anything. I built up a decent savings. I saved everything I could on the side. Write down, oh, here's my monthly bills. Here's the expenses I can cut. Here's, I made like 3 tiers of basic income. Like if I make this much in a month, I'm going to tread water. If I make this much, I can put some into savings. If I make this much, I'm not going to have healthcare for a bit as self-employed. If I make this much, I can go back to having healthcare. Stuff like that. Uh, with that kind of planning, I think it's less stressful, but it also depends a lot on how comfortable and confident you feel in the financial support you've gotten from your various revenue streams, whether it's from contributors directly on, like viewers supporting you through your streams, or something like YouTube ad revenue, or some sort of other, or like commissions. If you are an artist that does $1,000 a month in commissions, you know, stuff like that. It really varies. For me, I I have enough of a fire lit under my butt that I think, it motivates me to do things, but it's not so far, I went in with decent savings. So I know if I have a really bad month, you know, it, I went in with enough savings and my expenses. I know if I could literally go 9 months making $0, where I would be destitute. And at that point, I would, way before that point, I'd be going out and finding a job of some sort. I'd be going back and finding a regular, a day job
Right, right.
if
You
possible.
have enough of a buffer where
Yes.
you could
Um,
you could do something, but you also
yes.
have work experience to where you could find a decent job.
I mean, it also depends on where you're at.
Yeah.
And where I'm at, literally, if I needed something quick to pay rent, I could walk out and have a fast food job if I wanted. It just needs something quick and make some money. I walk down the street, there's 10 places hiring. That's my area. It's not every area, it's not every country. So I'm not particularly afraid. I have enough of a concern about it to feel motivated to work regularly and not get lazy, but I don't have enough to make me feel really stressed about it. I just know that if I keep producing, things are gonna go well. If I just keep showing up stream, keep making YouTube videos, things will be all right. That's how I feel. Um, yeah, I wouldn't really want to take streams off right now. I'd be a little scared. I don't want to for other reasons, so not because of money necessarily, but uh, mostly because I just don't want to let my viewers down because I'm so integrated now in their schedules. I'd feel guilty if I let them down. But it's less about the money and more about want to be there for them.
And before we, this is just like I'm going to be on my soapbox here for just a second. I'd like to get your opinion on this too, Gorilla. Is please do not abuse your viewers by having donathons or constant subathons or whatever because you have, have not planned out properly, and didn't have enough savings to cover stuff and thus are putting it on your viewers to, cover
Yeah,
cover it. I know people have, emergency medical expenses and things like that, but still like puts a bad taste in my mouth when these
yeah.
things happen regularly.
Well, interestingly enough, I know one streamer who does a monthly stream to raise money to pay rent, and they always get really overwhelming support for it. So the thing is, there's ways that you could do it, but a lot of people are doing it very disingenuously. Like this person is very honest with what they want from their community, and their community is willing to give them the support they need. So uh, it's important to know which person is doing it uh, because they want money, or which person is doing it because they care.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I agree entirely, both from a creator and a viewer perspective. Like I can I can I mention another like VTuber's
Yeah,
tweet real quick? Because
yeah, go
there's
ahead.
something that there's a VTuber I came across a tweet randomly, and they said actually the VTuber is Kyo Claim Tuber, and they said in their tweet, I do not want to unnecessarily pressure my community in the event that I need assistance. Some people do monthly subathons, in which case maybe it's time to get a part-time just get a part-time job.
Based?
Harsh reality, very basic, even basic. I followed them off. I was like, yo, I agree entirely. Um, I myself, I don't really believe in the subathon donathon meta. I don't like it's just how I am. I don't like directly asking for things. I would rather give my viewers ways to support me if they'd like to. It's of their own volition. I don't want to guilt people. I don't want to pressure people. I could not deal with that. I didn't like it when I was a viewer. I don't like the idea of doing it as a creator. So I don't really want to do that. I'd find other ways for myself first. I'd make something else happen before I directly did a thing like that. And I've seen some creators literally do. I've seen people do donathons, subathons twice a month. I don't like this uncapped subathon meta. It honestly
Oh,
feels like a grift. And you know what the worst thing was to me as a viewer? When I'd see someone, and that's why I think it's so important to be honest and transparent. When I see someone see like, there was another VTuber that I experienced like about a year ago. She would go on stream and she'd say, I need help with my food. I can't afford to eat. I need help with my medication. Then you'd look at her Twitter. Here's a brand new scab.
yeah.
If I see that, I feel disgusting. Like as a viewer, I feel like I just got scammed in some way. I feel
Well, you
like
did.
I did. I feel like I grifted, and I feel like there's a lot of this kind of grifts out there. I don't like this meta because serious people really need it, but especially people that are like disabled or can't do anything else. But it's kind of a fine line. Where does it go from being a genuine need to being a grift? Um, I think the other thing is like, uh, I think most creators don't realize that there's kind of like a trust equity you build up with a community, or any business builds like a trust with their consumer, right? And if you maintain good practices and you're honest with them, they're like they trust you and they will, work to your needs and support you more than if you're disingenuous. Um, the more you ask someone, the more you try to take from them, the more it kind of wears them down. So I worry a lot when I see people doing these constant donathons, subathons. How long is it going to be before the goodwill runs out? How much of your viewer are you going to use up before they say enough's enough and move on to somebody that's more honest with it? So I really think it's in a healthy meta in that regard. I urge people to find other ways to support themselves than just running constant with on donathons and ask for handouts effectively.
Viewers, free yourself from this tyranny. don't, don't let a VTuber ring you out and drain you dry. Wait, that doesn't sound right.
I mean, sucking with VTubers is
Consumed.
an awful, awful lot
Yeah.
of VTubers out there. So draining dry is pretty kind of par for the course. But yeah, there's a lot of VTubers, in my opinion, they're like just there to get money in the short term and not to like build a good, honest brand and identity and like something trustworthy people want to support, of their own volition. That's really important. Is like they want to support you because they enjoy it rather than unless you're asking them, right? I have friends that'll sit and stream, but like, yo, someone just like donate, and this is really like balls to me. Can you just like donate 5 subs? Those like, is anyone give me 5 subs? And be like, I'm sitting there watching them. I'm like, excuse me, excuse me for what? Like, it's because you asked for it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Reminds
I'm
me of those
sorry.
old things where it's like, if you should have $10 a month, you should be able to sub to me. You guys know what I'm talking about, right?
the girl that was like, yeah, if you got, it's only $5 a month. You can't sub to me for $5 a month. I'm just getting my stream. She was infamous.
Yeah. So, I mean, man, we covered a lot here, especially stuff that I honestly don't think this is talked about very often in community, right? It's kind of swept under the rug, but it's super important for your livelihood. Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up this episode?
I would say I wish more people would talk about this in VTuber space. I wish more creators would talk about that. Some are willing to, whether it's the VTuber or face cam streamer space. There's some great, you know, people that will talk about this stuff all day. Happy to talk about it. Like Ludwig is a good source. Regardless of how I feel about him, he's a good business source. But the VTuber community does the same thing I've watched. They're great people here, but it's also kind of a bucket full of crabs. Uh, I've seen this in many other spaces too. People will be like, "Oh, you can't talk about business because you're gonna sound greedy. You can't talk about this stuff. You shouldn't be doing this. You're ruining the vibe here, man. It's just for fun, man." See this artist communities. Oh, you charge so much for your art. Why you charge so much? Art should be like a passion. You shouldn't like be charging this much. And they gotta put food on the table. It's good and healthy to talk about. It's good to talk about business
Yeah.
good best practices. Or people won't talk about it because they're afraid of other creators like getting in on their territory or something. Give them advice. Maybe
I
they'll look
was I
themselves
was
up.
thinking I was thinking that the latter. I kind of noticed that with VTuber community is that because of how uh, how new it is, a lot of these people they they kind of hide their tech, even though it's tech that's uh, they obtain from like face cam streamers and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But it feels kind of weird because it's like they see this as like a new thing, so they want to like hide their secrets, even though it's not actually
it's
like.
crazy. It's crazy. I've seen it too. It's some real pearl clutching kind of situations. I I don't get it. I don't understand it. Like I don't, from my perspective as creator, I don't look at other creators as real competition. And I don't mean that in like an insulting way. Like, oh, you're beneath me. I mean that as like I don't. Even if we're sharing the same space, vying for like our own viewers, I think there's enough. There's a thing called like the 1,000 true fans theory, where nowadays people can say 100 true fans. Whereas as a creator in this modern era, in the future you'll be able to, every creator can find 1,000 true fans that can support them by just throwing a few bucks at them every month. I think there's enough people in the world and on every platform to find those 1,000 true fans that every single person can eat at the table. So I don't see a reason to hide your stuff. I think people should share it and share their knowledge. And that's why people like Fafama and stuff are phenomenal, or like the VR chat like developers or the Unity developers are fucking phenomenal because they share that they want to make better things and do cool stuff. Hiding all this stuff doesn't help anybody. Like you're not gonna look good doing it.
Yeah.
Long term, people are gonna find it anyway. In fact, if you teach people how to do it, you're going to make yourself look even better and ingratiate yourself to them, and they're going to love you for it. So I don't
Yeah,
think it's not
yeah.
healthy.
It goes back to like the whole building like connections and stuff. People don't really have like. There's no reason to hide something if you're going to, unless it's like a like big trade secret that you really don't want anyone to know.
Yes,
But like,
Yeah.
but that's so rare.
that's so rare. Like I can't think of many VTubers that are doing something that is like so, at least on a small scale, and it's so like deeply involved that they want to hide their trade secrets. A lot of this stuff, like you said, they got it from face cam streamers. Now they're clutching their pearls and trying to hide it. And like, what's the point? Help somebody else out. They're going to turn around and help you out in the future, more so than like you being a crab about it. Just there's enough people to go around. There's enough viewers to go around. You
Yeah, and
know,
it really goes to that like the hobbyist versus the I guess career kind of thing. Um, I remember hearing a story about how one streamer taught this other person a lot about OBS and streaming software in exchange for them telling uh rating them, telling, getting them connected to other things. and it feels kind of weird to have like these business transactions. But the thing is, they're like really good friends now, and they value that they were able to help each other out like that.
Yeah, build. I'm very much a proponent of, do your own thing, but if opportunity presents itself to help somebody else, help them out too. Chances are they're going to turn around. They're going to remember that you build them up strong, they'll build you up back in return. That's more common than not. Sure, there are people that'll take your goodwill and run with it, but I'd say they're less common than someone's going to remember that you helped them and turn around and help you in the future.
Yeah, it doesn't happen as much, and honestly, if they do that, it's gonna bite them eventually.
It will.
Yeah.
It will.
That's what longer
You can't
will come.
do that. Yeah, you can't do that. Well, not even that. You can't do that forever because
No.
you might end up just not by messing up the wrong person, and that person could be like connected to so many things.
You reap what you sow. If you sow good works and do good things for others and do good by them, then so too will that be paid back into you in kind. If you are negative to others and backbiting and hide all your, do this, kind of mean girl stuff, it's going to come back on you, and not in a good way. It's very basic. That's a lot of how life works. If you're good to others, they'll totally be good to you.
What a great note to end on, though. What do you think? Uh-oh. Guess not.
Not.
But yeah, this has been Viewertown. I'd like to
say that.
What?
How? Why did you say that? What did you expect us to like follow up with that?
I don't know, my brain is not... I'm delirious. Please help me. Please comment, and subscribe.
Well, before we go, Olivia should show her stuff.
Yes, do that, please.
Yeah. So I stream on Twitch. I stream 6 days a week. Weekdays, Tuesday through Friday, like 6 p.m., 10 p.m. Play a lot of indie games, retro games, things like that. Also, my viewers torture me with horror games occasionally. Thanks, Streamloads. Stream on weekends as well, 2 6 p.m. Eastern. Help with the Euro Gang. And also, I have an ASMR YouTube channel. All my stuff is on Twitter under twitter.com/Olivia Crowley EN.
Yeah, if you like some of that talk about consuming, check out Sasha's Castle on YouTube.
Oh, look, there is no consuming on there yet.
All right.
See? Yeah. So that means go subscribe to it.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening. This has been your host, Mightygerm.
My name is Gorilla.
I'm Olivia Crowley.
All right. And see you guys next time.